Welcome to another fingerstyle tutorial. Today we are going to learn to play Montero, or Call Me By Your Name, by Lil Nas X on the acoustic guitar. This will cover everything you need to play the song, whether you're looking for easy chords or you want to play an advanced solo guitar piece. If you work your way through the entire video, you'll be able to play my full arrangement of the song. My original performance video, which this is 100% based on, is linked in the description below. So we're going to start with the tuning and capo placement, then the chords, then I'll walk you through my arrangement of the song one piece at a time. Also, you'll notice this whole video is split up into chapters, so you can easily jump around to any section. So first, the tuning. I chose an open tuning. This is open C sharp. So every string gets tuned down at least somewhat. The low E note gets tuned down to a C sharp. The A string gets tuned down to a G sharp. The D string goes down to a C sharp. The G string goes down to an F. The B string goes down to a G sharp. And the high E string goes down to a C sharp. So that's open C sharp. Sounds pretty nice. As for the capo, you're going to put your capo on the 2nd fret, taking it to an open D sharp, technically. So I know that tuning is pretty intense, but it is what gives my arrangement of the song its signature sound. So next I'm going to show you the chords. Luckily, in this case, there's very little to talk about here. There are only 3 chords in the entire song, and you're only going to be using 2 of them most of the time. And thanks to this really crazy open alternate tuning we're in, they're very easy to play and to remember. So the first chord, again, all relative to the capo, is a C sharp, which you don't need this hand at all. There you go. The second chord would be a D, which with this tuning, all you have to do is bar the whole 1st fret, all 6 strings. And then the last chord is an E, which you do the same thing, but slide it up 2 frets to fret 3. And that's it. And like I said, you're only going to be using the first 2 chords most of the time. And when you're playing the actual song, it's going to sound like this. That's what you'll be playing throughout all the verses, the pre-chorus, everything. The only part where that changes up a little bit is in the chorus, where it's going to go like this. So it's pretty fun to play around with these, actually. No matter what you do, it kind of just sounds good. And it has this kind of Spanish flair too, which is something that I noticed in the real song and really wanted to convey through my arrangement. Now with the percussion and rhythm that I add, the chords will come out sounding more like this. And then for the chorus, it would sound like this. So for the chords, that's really all you need to know. If someone's going to be singing along with the song, or you just want to play it in an easier way, everything I just showed you will take you through the whole song. Alright, so now we're going to go over my actual arrangement, starting with the intro riff that opens the song, which sounds like this. So you start with your 1st finger on the G string 1st fret, and then you're going to play the open E string, jump to the 5th fret with your pinky, So I hold my first finger down on the first fret here, let it ring, then I slide up with my pinky to the 8th fret, and then I do a little hammer-on pull-off line here. Slide down to the 4th fret, 1st fret, open string, another pull-off here, then you hold it, and then this note, that is the lead-in to the first verse. So I'm using these notes on the D string as the bass notes for this section. You have to use your first finger to bar these 3 strings, the D, G, and B strings. I start barring it right there so that I can play all those strings together. Then you leave that barred for the next part, and then release the bar. Then you do it again a little differently. Same thing with the bar again. And for this part, so for this little section, you'll notice I'm playing the same notes in 2 different octaves at the same time. So you have your first finger barred still, and you release everything, play the D string and high E string together, then put your second finger and your third finger down here on the A string and the B string on the 3rd fret, and then slide it down to the 1st fret, and slide it back up to the 3rd fret again. And then release and play the open D string. Which brings us into the next section of this verse, where we start incorporating the signature rhythm and percussion that I'm going to use for basically the whole rest of the song. So the rhythm here that I'm using is basically just so my percussion style is I do 2 wrist thumps and then a slap with my thumb on the strings. And on each wrist thump, I'm playing the bass note. And you'll notice on the tabs that the slaps are marked with X's. You don't have to play those if you don't want to. If you're not able to incorporate the drum sounds, or you'd rather just play the song without using any percussion, that's totally fine. In that case, when you see the X's on the tabs, either ignore them or just play the bass note again instead. You'll want to practice this rhythm as much as you can before getting too into the nitty-gritty details of this arrangement. Because once you've mastered that rhythm, it'll be a lot easier to add in the different melody notes. So the actual melody line is so right here, the hardest part of this line is definitely this little pull-off line. So what you're doing here is you're going to have to use your first finger to bar the bottom two strings. Use your pinky and your ring finger to do this complicated pull-off on the A string, from the 5th fret to the 3rd fret to the 1st fret. While playing the bass note at the same time. And this part is not that simple either. So in this case, I'm not doing the whole bar. You can if you want to, but I chose to do it this way with my first finger on the 6th string, 1st fret, 2nd finger on the 1st fret and the G string. Use your pinky. I hammered it here onto the 3rd fret of the G string. And then I curl my middle finger back to make it hit the B string on the 1st fret. Then back down with your pinky on the 3rd fret. And then release and do the 6th string and the 4th string open. And then a hammer-on pull-off here. You just hammer down on the 3rd fret A string and then pull off. Then do it again. And then there's this short little lead line where you're gonna take out all the percussion and the rhythm. This part is kind of tricky too, it's very fast. You notice I'm doing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs here. And again, I'm barring with my first finger on the bottom two strings. And then I release the bar. Which brings us to the pre-chorus. And to start, I do my wrist thump here, and then I kind of slam my middle finger down and try to hit the bottom 3 strings. Sounds very powerful, kind of kicks it off in a strong way. And then I slide up with my pinky on the high E string right after. And again, this part is kind of tricky, so I need to be able to play the high E string as an open note, so I can't just bar everything. So what I have to do is I use my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger. First finger goes on the low E string on the 1st fret, middle finger goes on the G string, 3rd finger goes on the B string. And then my pinky is going to alternate here on the B string 3rd fret to pull off this section. Then you release with your first 3 fingers. Then repeat. Use your 3rd finger here. Fill in the rest of the fingers around it. And then you end on a slight variation. You only play the lead notes, no bass notes. Which brings us to the chorus. This is kind of the focal point of the song. This is the part that, in my opinion, sounds the best, and it's the most fun to play. And this is another example of a time where my alternate tuning that I'm using kind of allows the song to sound the way that it does. So I'm going to be playing the same note in 3 different octaves here. The 6th string, the 4th string, and the 1st string. Those are all the same note. Those are all a D sharp note. I play them at the same time with my thumb, 1st finger, and 3rd finger on my right hand. And then you take your 2nd finger and your 3rd finger and you hammer them both down. And this is again 2 notes that are the same note on different octaves. This is the 3rd fret A string with your middle finger, then the 3rd fret B string with your 3rd finger. And you're going to hammer both of those down while also playing the open bass note. A little tricky. So it sounds like this. Then for the second part of this, you bar the entire 1st fret with your 1st finger, and you do the same thing, playing the same note 3 different octaves. 6th string, 4th string, 1st string. And then, instead of doing the hammer on here, on this one, you release the bar, but you keep it held down on the bottom E string. So this is a bit tricky too. So you have your bar, so you have to release the bar on part of it and then put it right back down. And the nice thing is you don't have to be 100% precise. You don't have to worry about accidentally hitting some of the other strings in this section, because again, with this tuning, every note is going to sound good together. You could even strum it. It doesn't change anything. And then, so the next part, you're still holding down the bar. Then you slide it up. And bring it back down. And then back to your open notes with the hammer-ons. So all together it sounds like this. And then the second part of the chorus is a little different. You start by strumming all the chords together, open. So the melody is, and you're playing that melody, and you're also doing at the same time. So I'll play it very slowly so you can see. With the percussion all together, it sounds like this. And then you do that slide up that I was showing you earlier. You can do that entirely by strumming. And the nice thing is these melody notes are already built into the bar chord that you're doing. These are just notes that you're already barring. Then you do it again. end it a little differently on the second time because you're leading in to the B verse. So. And that takes us into the B verse. So the rhythm in the B verse to start is so again, because I need to play that high E open note, I can't just bar the whole thing. So I'm going to use my first finger to bar the bottom two strings, just barely. Use my middle finger and my ring finger on the G string and B string here, just like we did earlier. I'm going to play them all together, while taking care to avoid hitting the D string by accident, because that note does clash with all the others. So just these four. And then with my ring finger on my right hand, also hitting that open E string. And then using my pinky to alternate again between the first and third frets. And then release. And now you're going to actually bar everything together on this first fret. This is also pretty hard with your pinky. Your pinky's doing a lot of the work here. So I'm pulling off from the third fret to the first fret, then stretching my pinky all the way to the B string, 5th fret, and sliding it down. Doing it again. And then I release. And for this part, it's the end of this section of the B verse, so I spiced it up a little with some harmony notes. So, using your middle and your ring finger on the G string and the E string, 3rd fret. Slide it down to the 1st fret, and then open frets. And then open D string and 3rd fret B string. I thought that sounded pretty cool. And then into the next section of the B verse. We're back to that old rhythm again. And this part, once again, pretty tricky. So you have to bar the bottom 2 strings with your first finger, but you have to do it so slightly that you're not touching this string, the D string, at all. You have to be able to bar these 2, but still be able to play the open string on the D. Because the melody notes here you have to maintain that melody this whole time while alternating between. Don't accidentally mute that D string with your first finger. You have to really be careful here. Move your finger, orientate it however you have to make this work. It gets easier once you move to the open string for the bass. Then it gets very hard again with the barring. And then we move the melody back up to the higher strings. This is just you alternating with your pinky again. Pull-offs and hammer-ons. So once again, you're stretching your pinky back and forth between the 3rd and 5th frets on the B string. Easier to do when you're not barring the entire 1st fret. That always adds a bit of a challenge in this song. Do it again. That's the ending of the B verse there. And for a little extra emphasis, I played the same note twice here. High E string open, and then same note on the B string, 5th fret. On the B string, I slide into it. Just adds a little more power to that moment. So you slide up and then go back down. This takes us back to the pre-chorus again. But this time, the pre-chorus has the same rhythm and percussion added to it. So instead of now, it's so you're going to take everything you did on the pre-chorus last time and just add that rhythm into it. And this time also I added a little solo flair that you can actually hear in the song, and I wanted to make sure I incorporated it somehow. So you have to alternate between your 3rd and your 4th finger here on the 7th and 8th frets. And the whole thing is hammer-ons and pull-offs. I only hit the note once with my right hand. So you just have to sneak in this little line right in between the 2 sections. You see? Other than that, it ends the same way. And that brings us to the chorus again. And the chorus, mostly the same, but a few differences. So I'll show you that now. So all of that was the same, but there's one little change here. So there's a new little melody being added in. Normally it's, but this time it's. Which then brings us to the second part of the chorus, which also has a bit of a difference here. Before we were going, but this time there is a melody attached to it. So you add that in instead of doing the slide. And that takes us to the outro. This first part of the outro, pretty simple, at least compared to everything we've done so far. Again, it's built in to the chords. You don't even have to use your left hand for this first little bar. And then the second one is built into the bar chord. And then comes the last little solo guitar lead line that the original song had that I just had to incorporate. because I like to incorporate everything. And it's pretty hard, I won't lie. So I did a different voicing of this bar chord so it could be up higher. So you put your middle finger on the 10th fret relative to the capo, then put your first finger on the G string 9th fret, and your ring finger on the B string 10th fret. Which is just a different higher voicing of the same chord. And I did that so that you'll be able to use your pinky to reach the melody notes on this little solo section. Your pinky goes on the 12th fret here. So the actual melody part goes like this. So you have your chord, but much faster. So you're going to have to play that at full speed while also incorporating as much of the rhythm and percussion as you can. So slowly, all together, it sounds like this. So that's probably the single hardest part of the song, and it comes right at the end. There you go. So this will take a lot of practice to get this at full speed. So to help practice this part, I'd recommend mainly just practicing the lead line on its own, and then working on adding in the other parts once you've got it. So this last section is just Lil Nas kind of riffing vocally, and I tried to incorporate that as well. So this is a lot like the B verse, where you're doing something very similar here with your fingerings. So you're gonna have to do that really difficult trick from before, where you're barring the bottom two strings with your first finger on the first fret, but leaving the D string open. And then you end on this chord, just open strings. Alright, and that finishes out the tutorial. If you've gotten this far, you should be able to play the entire thing, or at least you know how to practice to play the entire thing. If you have any questions about how I play the song, anything I didn't touch on, anything I didn't cover, go ahead and leave me a comment, let me know. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Thanks.